I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically a Commanders podcast. I am Amit, that is KDot, and in case you didn't notice, we are wearing shades. It is a Victory Monday, the final week of the season. Sam Howell gets his NFL start and debut, and 11 of 19, 169 yards, a touchdown, a pick, 5 carries, 35 yards, a touchdown. We're going to talk about Sam Howell, of course. We're also going to then ask the question, did he do enough to convince you that he should be in the running to be a starter? What would you do at quarterback moving forward, given Sam Howell's performance? We will then jump into the comment mailbag. We'll talk a bit about the offense and defense as well just before that. And we may even provide predictions on what we think is going to happen this week with the Commanders at the front office and, you know, all that jazz and stuff like that. But KDot, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Wearing these shades. I mean, Victory Monday. Sort of. I mean,
you take it, man. Anytime it's against Dallas. You take the win,
especially against Dallas. I mean, Dallas is collapsing like we knew they would. I mean, Classic. But anything, I think I'm wearing the shades more in trying to bring through. I'm like Snyder on the yacht far away from the team now. You know, I'm not even wearing shoes, you know, sails up, toes out, bro. So got the toes out, got the shades on. Snyder over in England doing his fucking thing, Mediterranean, wherever the fuck he is, just far the fuck away from Ashburn and Landover, Maryland.
Yeah, I think with the all black look, you look like, you know what, the season's over, funeral for the season. Thank you very much, but let's move the fuck on.
It's that UK yacht vibe, right? Sadness.
Right, yeah. Right. Oh, just your typical Brit. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But why don't we go ahead and jump into Sam Howell and his performance? Okay, the 5th round rookie from North Carolina got the start after a bit of confusion. Sounded like it was going to be Heineke at first, and then it was Howell, which was awesome. I think you could feel that FedEx was juiced up a little bit. We had a surprising number of fans over there, in my opinion, after the debacle that was the Cleveland Browns game. KDot, once again, 11 of 19, 169 yards, a touchdown, a pick, but he also had 5 carries, 35 yards, a touchdown, and his very first NFL throw, a touchdown to Terry McLaurin. What did you make of Sam Howell's debut?
Good. Lots of good, barely any bad that I could see. I mean, I'll even start with the bad because I want to heap more praise on this guy than anything.
Sure.
But then I want to also put it in perspective, right? So like we said before this game, there are a lot of things that you really don't want to hang your hat on and learn too much that you make too many huge or major decisions based off of one game, right? So when you look at the bad, the interception, of course, in the end zone was terrible. But I mean, name a rookie quarterback that doesn't do something like that, where right. they don't know quite what's what. They're, oh shit, I could just make this play. And he knows as soon as he lets that go, shit, shouldn't have done that, right? Happens to the best of them, right? I mean, it happens to some of the, you look at Aaron Rodgers last night playing football. He had a few other fucking moments trying to go out like Brett Favre. Look, that's where you see some of the bad. Also some of the footwork sometimes, right? You see sometimes where he'd drop back. So his dropbacks weren't necessarily as clean as you'd like to see some guys. But once again, rookie, that's something that you build on. That's something you work with. That's something you start developing, right? Especially if you look and you see the amount of time he's actually had getting full-blown coaching or enough coaching. And he hasn't been getting as much as the other guys have been getting, right? So
right.
If you look at that, then you're like, okay, those are definitely things you can polish. Or even in an off season, your full off season as a pro, you go hire somebody to be a quarterback tutor and get some of that shit cleaned up. Like, not a big deal, right? So those would be the things. So like the bad that you see, it's like, pretty typical shit, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the good, right? Like the good was all over the place. You look at just natural talent and ability. Number one, the biggest thing you saw in this game was the natural zip on that football, right? It's one thing that we talk about when it comes to Carson Wentz or Taylor Heineke as far as arm strength, right? Like even with Carson Wentz, when it came to throwing these, what I like to say, the routes that Taylor couldn't throw and Carson miss. Would be the quick out routes, right? The ones that I say, that intermediate passing game, the crossing routes where you got to hit the guy in stride, right? The zip you see Sam Howell launch that ball comes out once he makes the decision to have happen, fast as we've seen the quarterback position here in Washington in a minute. Carson Wentz, as much as he has zip once the ball is released, that windup is so fucking slow, you kind of know where it's going. And Taylor Heineke, the release might be quick, but it looks like it fucking takes a train, plane, an automobile for the goddamn ball to get to its destination, right? So Sam Howell, quick zip on the ball every time that he would snap back and he throw. Fucking great. You also see just the natural mechanics. So like when some of the pass rush, you see the way he drops his arm or moves and just has the feel for the pocket on, all right, this ball might get batted down. I got to slice it this way. And he's not even really thinking about it. Some of that Taylor, it's reminiscent a lot of like the playmaking you saw with Taylor Heineke, with even a more looseness to him when it comes to it more than anything. Because, I mean, you look at it, he's more of an athlete than Taylor Heineke is. And then, of course, the mobility, right? The ability to just say, hey, there is space right there. I'm going to take it. How many times do we see this season where there's been space on the field and either Heineke loves rushing towards pylons and Carson Wentz is just afraid to do anything? So, right. But he saw the space, go fucking take it. And he's got enough speed to make it happen. And also that rushing touchdown where he bulldozes the shit out of Diggs was just cool to see. I mean, you look at how he doesn't look like a specimen. He kind of looks, you know what the funniest thing was? He looked to me, when you say that we retired Sonny Jurgensen's jersey or whatever, even though they pulled something off the fucking equipment room.
Yeah, I know.
But you see the old photos of Sonny Jurgensen, he's smoking cigars and stuff, and he never looks like an athlete, right? He just looks like a guy. That's what Sam Howell looks. He looks like a guy.
Well, he even had the photo of him with a cigar trending from his North Carolina days after. Yeah, so like,
it's great.
It's there.
He's a guy, and but he's a footballer, right? Like, so there were a lot of things. And then the big one, right? The completion of that deep ball. You look at that throw that he made to Terry, 60 yards in the air on a fucking rope. You look at even the pass that Jahan should have came down with, even though it was a fairly tough catch for Jahan. You got to come down with that one, where he thought, perfect position on that football. So there are a lot of things you see of Sam Howell. You're like, that's exciting. That is cool to see. But you also realize he has no game film. So Dallas didn't know what to expect. You also realize that Dallas, you could see they came into that game fucking sleepwalking. They thought there was going to be a cakewalk. It clearly was not. So there's a lot of those things where you got to just kind of put it in perspective. A lot of times when a rookie comes in, especially an athletic rookie comes in, and the defense has no idea what it is they need to do to scheme. All right, do we just need to play back? Do we need to spy as far as this? When they don't know what to do, you can get away with a lot, especially in your first game. So what that means for Howell, I don't know yet. No idea. I'd like to look at the All-22. I think that might be a little more illuminating. That'll come out tomorrow. But, hey, a lot more positives than negatives in a quarterback room and a quarterback history that has been a lot more negative than positive recently.
Yeah, I really like the way you summed all that up. And the thing I want to highlight, of course, the throws I thought were, you see the zip, and people have talked about that zip before, and he showed it, a lot at North Carolina. And then again at the Senior Bowl, he's a good player. And we even said that before, good player. We'll see what sort of quarterback he ends up becoming. But to your point, no film on the guy. You saw Jarrett Stidham carve up the San Francisco 49ers, and then he plays the Chiefs and does absolutely nothing. So, you're going to get a bit of a mixed bag. But that being said, you see enough potential there that I understand getting excited over it. I personally am. It was a nice little shot of adrenaline for the franchise. I also want to mention that mobility that you talked about. Just see space, take space. He would decide within a second. There's that much space I'm taking. It's as simple as that. It's kind of it's a general sports concept. It's there. I play a lot of soccer. It's there in soccer all the time. You see the space, you take the space. It's as simple as that. You should receive it. You should turn, and that's it. He has that sort of instinct, which you don't see many QBs have, because they will stay in the pocket if it's clean enough and go, okay, I'll wait for someone to get open. And I get it. But when it's a see space, take space type of thing, like, you're guaranteed yards every single time. And he's sliding. That was always our problem with RG3, is he didn't freaking know how to slide. And so, like, he represented the best of many different, it was almost Carson with confidence. It was Taylor's mobility. it was cool to see. Now, again, you see the stat line, 11 of 19, 169 touchdown pay. It doesn't wow you, right? But it also is one of those things where if he gets the right offensive coordinator, maybe we'll talk about predictions and stuff like that, right? And we have the right scheme and we have people getting open. Who knows? So why don't we jump into that conversation?
I will say one thing.
Sure.
That's a good point you made as far as the he wasn't being greedy. And that
Correct.
is something you definitely don't see a lot from young quarterbacks. You even don't see it a lot from veterans. They sometimes get too greedy. Carson Wentz earlier in the season, the checkdowns there, he doesn't take it. He hangs on the football too long, waiting for something to develop.
Taylor really is guilty of that too. Also.
Taylor absolutely guilty of that. Patrick Mahomes, up until this year, was something that I was highly critical of, which is why I was so high on him this year with Andy Reid as his coach, was you rely so heavily on Tyreek Hill eventually getting open that you hold him the football for so goddamn long that the pass rush finally gets to you and the play breaks down. Take what the defense gives you if you're in a position to take it. If it's the fourth quarter and you got 90 seconds left in the game, I understand need to get all the chunks, right? But if it's in regular game flow and they're giving you the 8 yards right there on second down where it leads you to third and short, why do you need the home run there? You don't. And Howell did a great job of accepting what it is the defense was giving him.
And so let's jump into that next question then, KDot. So did Howell, based on that performance, given his performance, what would you do at quarterback this offseason?
To me, it's a thought process of two options. Okay. And to me, it's dependent on, I think it's a toughie. Now, the thing is to me is that I'm not of the idea the 5th round draft. I mean, I'm not going to say that. I think that's stupid. And that's not, if you got talent, you got talent. I don't know if this coaching staff so far has ever been quite in the loop on what it is they've gotten from the quarterback position. And I'm not talking about just this year. I'm saying even before then. You remember the Alex Smith deal when they had to start him near the end and they weren't even sure if he was healthy enough to ever play again? And Alex was like, well, I was doing all these things. I thought I was in communication with these guys. They had no idea what was going on with us. And then it ends up happening like, oh shit, Alex Smith can play. And it's like, it just feels as though they have no feel for what's happening in the quarterback room. To me, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm just not sure. Like my thing would be that you go into this offseason under the philosophy, and we're going to talk about it a lot in the next few weeks, which is my entire thing as far as handicapping Ron Rivera from spending too much on quarterback to handicap us 2 years from now with new ownership, right? When whatever changes we need to make are happening, or when you have so many guys like Daron Payne, who you're trying to figure out how, if you're going to franchise tag him, this, that, and the other, you don't spend a lot of money on the quarterback position. So if that's the case, what do? You're either saying, Sam Howell, you've got the job, which I don't love doing that for young guys, much as I love competition. But then I say, all right, if you've got the job, what am I looking at as far as a backup? I'm a fan of Taylor Heineke coming back. I think the fans need to get their fucking shit together as far as not trying to completely lionize this guy and screaming for Taylor anytime anything fucking goes bad. So I think the fans need to get under control. But I'd love to have Taylor come back. And if you hear Taylor in the press conferences or talking to the media afterwards, he'd love to come back, right? He talks about it. You don't have to get hit as much. I love being a part of it. Like, he's a perfect mentality to be a backup, right? But if you're doing that, you're clearly saying you're the number 2. This guy's number 1. What you don't do in that scenario is then bring in another veteran that could potentially oust Taylor Heineke to third string, where you're going to pay him a certain amount of money, because everyone says the same thing. Taylor Heineke's never really looked great in training camp. He never really looks great in practice. He's a game maker. If you bring in another guy, Taylor's not really going to be it. Then there's the other thing, which is, do you bring in a wily vet, a journeyman, somebody who doesn't cost a lot of money, but could then spark competition between him and Howell? And if that's the case, you're probably saying bye to Heineke. So to me, is that whether or not my love for Heineke supersedes what it is I want to see happen, I think the correct decision probably to make is to bring in a cheap vet and have a full-blown quarterback competition going into next season.
Okay. So for me, we'll begin with the Ron thing and the coaching staff. They're going to be here, right? We don't know who all, and we'll talk about that later on, with the predictions and stuff like that. But as far as I know, as of now, Ron is here. And as of now, he's going to get to make this decision. So I think what I would do is I would bring Heineke back. I would have Howell, of course, and I would let that be the competition. You mentioned a cheap vet, for example. Well, if we know Taylor's willing to come back, and we know that the locker room likes him, and we know that the locker room also is now growing with Howell, well, then at least from the fan base perspective, you have two QBs that you enjoy, that you love. And I think the preference would be for Howell because he's more of the unknown, right? We know what Taylor is, but we don't necessarily know what Howell is. Maybe he is the guy. Maybe, is it likely? No, but is it possible? Sure. Why not?
We said we knew what Taylor was after last season, and we're still calling for Taylor to be the guy.
Because we knew what the other guy was. Okay. Half of us did. Half of us here knew what the other guy was. CW over there. But here's the deal. That's what I would do because I don't think this is a Super Bowl roster. I also don't trust Ron and his staff to properly evaluate the position. I also don't necessarily trust them to evaluate many positions. So, I mean, if you look at their free agent history and you look at our Pro Bowlers right now, the Pro Bowlers right now were on the team when Ron got here. And then you look at the different guys they swung on. William Jackson, for example, 3 years, $40.5 million. He's gone. And then he brings in his usual Andrew Norwell, like his Trey Turner. Like, it's always guys he's familiar with. And so for that reason, and the whole Howell's not ready, maybe he wasn't. He looked fine. That's sort of my thing is now looking back, when he chose Carson, how Carson looked, how he chose to keep him in there against Cleveland, the whole leaks from Logan Paulson, who even said he wouldn't start Sam Howell this week. Like, I just don't know that I trust them when they say people aren't ready or people are good or people aren't good. If we talked about Chris Paul and Khaleke Hudson, for example, they had nice games against some starters for Dallas. So, I mean, I don't trust them to evaluate positions. Therefore, just bring the same guys back. That's what I would like. And keep an eye for the 2024 draft. Because if it goes badly with Howell, that's not a bad thing long term. And so that's what I'm thinking about as well, KDot, is, hey, if this goes bad, could be good. Because it is a loaded, supposedly, 2024 QB class.
Yeah. I mean, look, it gun in my head, what do I want to see happen? Howell gets named the guy going in next season. He has a full off season. Or you say it's a quarterback competition between him and Taylor Heineke, but everybody fucking knows that.
But Howell would win it. Right. We would want Howell to
You'd
win
want
it.
Howell to win it. You're going into the next season with two quarterbacks. That's it. If you need to sign an emergency guy, you sign an emergency guy. But those are the two guys.
And the thing is, if Howell plays badly, I am of the belief, just given where I feel we are, you let it continue.
Right. You let it work.
Yeah, exactly.
So I get that. There is one thing I just wanted to ask you, because I've been hearing this narrative kind of creep up after the game, and I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
You're not saying at all. I mean, I've told you that I don't feel as though the coaching staff is in line with the quarterback room. I just don't think they have a good lead line, and I think that's been the case for a while, right?
Yes.
The narrative that I'm hearing recently has been, why didn't they go to Howell earlier?
So I'm not. So that's a bit tricky.
I'm hating that.
I don't. So the thing is, I don't hate it. But I think the people that were very staunchly that weren't in the building, echoing the sentiments of the leaks that he's not ready. I don't know that you necessarily believe that, but I'm not criticizing the decision of not going to Howell sooner. I'm fine with the way this played out. Okay. If that does that make sense? Them saying he's not ready. I get it. Them saying he's not ready. I'm not sure I believe anymore, considering how bad they are at evaluating talent and players. But at the same time, I'm totally fine with him having just played this last game. Right. That's A-okay with me. Yeah. No issues there.
That's fair.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes. I love the fact that you handle that with nuance, because I just think that the some things I'm hearing in certain aspects of Twitter, some things I'm hearing in certain conversations with people, I'm just like, you were in the playoff hunt. It was fifth round. What about Brock Purdy? He was the third quarterback. Like, they had to go through two.
Not only do they have to go to him, but they have an elite system over there, and any one of you has to acknowledge that. that believes Brock Purdy. If you put Sam Howell in that system, we're probably like, oh, look at Sam Howell. We have Brock Purdy. Like it does,
but it would have taken
matter. People.
It would have taken a Trey Lance and a Jimmy G to both go down.
Correct.
In order for that
Sam to show up.
It's not. Hey, we not liking it. Let's throw this guy in here where we're in the playoff hunt. Like I'm like, hold on, what?
No. I'm not putting on the retroactive glasses here and going. Okay. Oh, based on what I saw against Dallas, let's go back 8 weeks and Howell should have been in. No, that's not what I'm saying.
That to me is ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I agree.
We're on the same page. Great.
Yeah. So but that's what I would do. It sounds like you're leaning more towards, is it the cheap vet in that case?
Look, I think
because I think Heineke is the cheap vet is sort of what I'm thinking.
I think the correct decision, if I take my heart and emotion out of it, is to bring in a veteran.
Okay.
I really do. That being said, I can't completely remove those things from me. I don't want Taylor Heineke to go anywhere. I love that dude. And if you can get him for the right price point, because I think as far as backups go, he's going to command something.
Right.
If you can get him at the right price point, then I want him back.
So that's sort of my question to you, KDot, is what is just surface level? What is your goal for next year?
That's I don't know if I could get into that without going really long.
That's fair. So I guess my thinking is I don't unfortunately think the goal can be Super Bowl. And for that reason, I don't think a cheap vet changes anything. At least with Heineke, he's familiar with this current system if Scott sticks around, let's say. Right. So then at least you have familiarity in the system for now, both QBs, versus bringing in a cheap vet who has to learn it, who, as we know with Scott's system, you have to learn it. He's not learning anything about you. He may not even know your name. And you just need to figure out his system based on what a number of ex-players have said. That is not just me speculating. That is just ex-players have said, Scott has a system and you just need to work within it. That's it. So that's sort of where I'm coming from. I think it just makes more sense but that's based on my expectations of next season.
That's fair. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that. I just, before you guys get me going on a fucking long-winded, crazy tear about shit, I'll let that go until we start really getting into the
off-season talk, the proper. So why don't we go ahead and jump into a bit of the rest of the team? Okay. So, I mean, we had a number of players miss the game and it opened up opportunities for other players. It was nice to see Armani Rogers come back. I know he only had the 2-yard rush, but like it was a guy we liked early on in the season, for example. So him returning from IR was cool. Cam Sims, cool to see him get a little bit of run. Yes, he only had the 1 target. Yes, it was an interception. But I enjoyed being able to see some of the other guys get chances to play. And then the 2 people I highlighted earlier, I thought Khaleke Hudson was excellent on defense, and Chris Paul, who, was a late round pick for us, very versatile. And they kept talking about his versatility and stuff like that. I thought he filled in admirably. It was Sam Cosmi that was getting beat like a fucking drum. There's not necessarily shame in that because it's Micah Parsons, but I mean, you expect more from Sam Cosmi at this point. Chris Paul was great, KDot. I didn't hear his name once as being a problem.
No, he once again, I need to look at the all 22, but he looked
surface level reaction. Yeah.
Surface level reaction. He looked good. Surface level reaction. The same thing I've been saying about Cosmi for the last few weeks is that what they're asking Cosmi to do is weird. I have him as guard. I think you got to kind of play him there. And
he's playing tackle for the team.
So like, to me is that I'm not criticizing too much when I think he's playing out of position. So like, it's one of those things where it's like, what I saw out of this game. So if I look, so are we sticking to offense or just overall? I mean,
you can just go overall at this point. Okay. And shout out Jared Patterson as well. 17 carries, 78. We look good too.
Yeah, they look great. So as far as offensively, what did I gain out of this? The offensive line needs a lot going into next season. That's something that's got to be it's a long-term project, right? But there's certain pieces I'm looking at. I'm like, okay, cool. Chris Paul, you're a piece. Sam Cosmi, I think, is a piece. Maybe a depth piece, but he's a piece. And then you're just everything else is fucking on the chat is on the docket. I don't know what Chase Rouillet's contract looks like. I think his contract's up after the season, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong about that.
I can double check that for you.
So
talking.
But beyond that, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be great coming back off the injury. There's not anybody on the offensive line that I say should be completely safe. I look at completely retooling, which is crazy to me. We looked at a year ago, they were 6th ranked. Even with a Brandon Sheriff who was never always healthy, it was still a 6th fucking rank.
Yeah,
so
it's honestly inexplicable. Yeah,
I don't
know.
understand it at all. There's that. If we're looking at the running backs, it's always nice to see Jared Patterson. It's always nice to see Jonathan Williams. I want another rookie fucking running back, and being completely honest, to add to that mix.
Just to jump in, so Chase Rouillet, there is a potential out in his deal, but we do have 2 more years of him if we choose.
Right.
Okay.
You try to bring him back, especially if you think that he's healthy enough to come back and play at a level. You bring him back, but there are just pieces that need to be added there that needs to be done.
Because his base salary does jump from 2.6 to 8.3.
Yeah, that's tough.
So
but
we'll see what the Commanders choose to do.
So there's a decision there. I don't think there's an overall terrible decision to be made, but I'd like to see him back just because it's not easy to completely retool an offensive line if you're going to start from scratch and not have any fucking bodies that existed from previous this season, right? So
yeah. And Rouillet, whenever he's played, has been solid.
His play has been solid, man. I think he's actually been one of the most important pieces on the offense.
You just hope he stays the same or close to coming off the injury.
Right. And you're not paying $8 million for what could have been based on what we've seen previously. Yeah. So there's that. Defensively, and offensively, Cam Sims always doing Cam Sim shit. When you're called up to do things, he does them. Danny Brown, I also he looked great on special teams.
He did. That tackle he had on turf was awesome.
Yeah, and I think hearing it was Greg Olson, I think, doing calling the game, and he was talking about how the coaching staff would always say that, like, if it wasn't for the 3 guys in front, Danny Brown would get a lot more opportunities, a lot more chances. I look at that dude, I'm like, I really want to see what it is they can build with him. He's a piece that I always want to see here on the team. So
my thing is, when he said that, it was like, okay, but like, can't you sub one of them occasionally and like put the kid in? Like, he had 8 snaps on offense this week. Like, and he played with Howell. So I was thinking maybe you try that a little more, but anyway, whatever.
Yeah, who's your offense coordinator? So
I tried everything to not say that, but defensively, knows it's on my mind.
Khaleke, Hudson, where have you been? Where is this guy?
100% of snaps, 7 tackles, look good.
Never seen him play this well. I've never seen him play this well.
You know, he had 6 snaps or 8 snaps the whole season, and then they gave him 67.
I've not seen. How long has he been here now?
A couple of years now.
Couple years, I've never seen him play this well. And out of nowhere, you got 100 snaps and you playing lights out.
Because we drafted him, I believe, in 2020. So this is actually year 3.
Year 3, yeah. Greatest job I've ever seen from him. Maybe he's a piece. I don't know. Danny Johnson. I saw somebody say it on Twitter, and I thought it was perfect. The Cam Sims of defense. Great. Bring him back.
By the way, the correct answer for anyone, in case it's a trivia question, for how many snaps Khaleke Hudson had before this game, the answer is 5.
Yeah. All right. Insane. So there's that. Yeah, man. I look at defense and say Danny Johnson's actually somebody I'm kind of excited about, along with Benjamin St. Juice. Fuller definitely had his moments throughout the season. I look at the defense. I'm like, all right, cool. I know that everybody's really high on Jack Del Rio because of where they ended up with the whole thing. I am a little less high on Jack Del Rio, which I know sounds like fucking blasphemy. But I think he relies way too heavily on the talent rather than the scheme. So that's just me, but I'm just a dude talking on a podcast who fucking gives a shit what I think about. So the really exciting to see some of these guys come out of nowhere. And then also, especially the defensive line depth, where you got Obata coming in, you got this guy coming in, this guy coming in, the dude whose name I can't pronounce with the long hair. Just fucking great guys. What I think his first name is like Benny or some shit.
Yeah, Potoai.
Awesome. Love seeing that shit. And also, when you see that depth on the defensive line, it makes you excited about what prospects you're looking in when Phil Mathis is coming back. You got a decision with Deron Payne. Chase Young hasn't looked great in pass rushing. Some decisions need to be made. It makes you excited that on defense, there are still some pieces there. It's just a curiosity on why they can't start and finish the season at the same level.
Yeah. Just want to say, so just circling back to QB talk.
And Joey Slide needs to go. Go, keep going.
Okay. So, okay. Maybe we chat about that after the pod. So all right. But just to round out the QB talk, because it wasn't mentioned, but it was implied, I suppose. Carson Wentz not coming back. You're certainly not bringing him back on the 20-something million. Are you bringing him back in any capacity?
No.
Same. All right, let's jump
I
over.
wish him the best, and I hope he does find something that
Same.
works.
He's a good dude. I want to make that abundantly clear. Like, he is genuinely a good dude. I don't dislike the person. It just, a QB, I hope he figures it out mentally, honestly, because he is super talented, but that's it.
If not, I hope he's
That's
chilling.
what separates people in this league is the mentality.
Him and Cliff Kingsbury go sit on a mountain of cash they made and put together IG fucking film clips next season and just chill for a bit.
Fair enough. That would actually, I would enjoy following that. All right, well, let's jump over to the comment mailbag where we have a few over here. I believe 5, maybe 6. Let's begin with a friend of the show, Brendan Nichols. Shout out, Brendan. Appreciate the comment here, bud. As a Packers fan, I've never had to endure poor quarterback play. This is pretty funny considering they got knocked out yesterday. With Rodgers looking close to done, I wonder if I have to look forward to this level of pain and suffering. Probably not, though. Love will end up being a Hall of Famer. We appreciate the comment there, Brendan.
Fuck you.
And fuck you. Exactly. And then we got Tony.
All right.
Shout out, Tony. Guys, are we justifying Rivera? The guy is just not a winner. Also, David Carr said his brother, Derek Carr, is looking for a team with stability. We're not that team. Thank you for the comment, Tony. I actually replied within minutes of
Did
Tony
you?
saying that. Oh, yeah.
Oh, did you have to remove yourself from me? You had to put
I
some
literally was
separation
like,
through
hold on. I was like, just to be clear, I'm not justifying Rivera.
I am, motherfuckers.
You are.
I'm defending Ron.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. I respect you, KDot, and your opinion. But I think Ron has to go. And then we got Jonney Otto. Shout out, Johnny. Can we please get to a point where we are not the punchline in our division every freaking year? We're doing our best, Johnny. Really appreciate the comment there. I hope we can not be the punchline. The sale, as soon as that happens, you may begin thinking about the sunshine and rainbows that are to hopefully come, but we'll see.
I don't think we're the punchline. We're just not. I don't think we're considered
kind
the
of
joke
the
at all.
punchline.
Nah, I think that we could typically be the punchline. We've been the punchline like over the course of last season, especially stuff that's happened off the field, right?
Right.
But even the way that everything collapsed, I get it, but it's been quiet now. And if there's anybody that's a fucking punchline, it's Dallas getting smoked 26-6 by a bunch of fucking backups going in the goddamn playoffs. Dude, no one's talking about the fucking Commanders.
Dak throwing the exact same throw after Kendall Fuller dropped the first one. And then it's a 29-yard pick six. That shit was hilarious.
The Cowboys' worst offensive output since the year 2000, I think I heard. What?
Fucking garbage. And now they have to go to Tampa, which like Tampa's not even good, but like it's Brady, and you just never
Brady.
know.
And it's on it's on Monday night now.
Yeah. Oh my God. If they lose that game, that's gonna be great. So appreciate the comment there, Johnny. And then Bloodklot with a couple. This first one, shout out Bloodklot. This first one says, on the 4th and 1 call, I read an article where Cooley actually said the same thing. He liked the call, but didn't like the look. So this is what you were talking about, KDot.
Yep.
Something about the way they lined up was too revealing. And on top of that, the missed block. Also, I agree, Sam Cosmi played great at right tackle when he was lined up with Scherf. I think having guards that don't know their assignments and slide could make a tackle's job a nightmare. I think Sam is pretty fast on his feet. My last question, and this is early, but who do you want to select in the first round? As it is now, we have the 14th pick. We officially have the 16th pick for those that are wondering. But if and when we lose, we didn't, stunningly. As with other teams losing, we can go as high as the 10th pick. Once again, we are the 16th pick. Everyone has us mocked to get a cornerback, and I understand this is a big issue, but I think our offensive line needs to be addressed. I would love Paris Johnson from Ohio State, but I think he'll probably be gone even by the 10th pick. So currently I'm high on Broderick Jones from Georgia. He's super athletic, real fast, feet long, big. His one negative was that he bites too early on his blocks where he gets impatient and engages early. This could be fixed with coaching. I'm not sure about this coaching. What are your thoughts? Who do you want? I would take a corner. I would say it's too early, but if I'm just giving a gut reaction to this question, Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State. That's who I would take.
Yeah, I got to do some more digging.
Fair enough. I also think the track record of Penn Staters in the first round, pretty damn good. We like what we see with Jahan. Micah Parsons over in fucking Dallas looks all right. So I would go Joey Porter Jr., but I also, to KDot's point, would like to do some further digging as well. And then we have a second comment for Bloodklot. Cosmi slid in his final year in college because he lost key pieces that went to the pros that helped him succeed. All the talent left. Well, I appreciate the insight there, Bloodklot. Yeah, because it's sort of what we then see at right tackle, like you said, sort of weird usage and stuff. And then Tony, shout out Tony one more time. How about those Commanders? Love the comment there. Really appreciate it. And we appreciate all you guys. This was District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically a Commanders podcast. Wanted to take a moment because this is, just thank you guys. I know it's the end of 2022 and we didn't really get the opportunity to do so, but just thank you all for following us this whole time and for liking the videos, for subscribing, for commenting. We didn't say it, but we really appreciate you guys, like big time. Heck, even when KDot and I are like texting, we'll be like Tony, Bloodklot, well mention you guys, all of you, Jonney, like VA Money, all these guys. And so just really appreciate you all. And happy belated birthday shout outs. I wanted to do this last episode, but forgot to Pally for life and to Ridge, wear your helmet at. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed your days. That made it sound like they were dead. They're not. They're doing well.
One could be.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed your days. But yeah, after the pod begins right now. Yeah, it was crazy because like I'd meant to thank everybody at the start of the new year, and it just didn't happen. And I was like, "Fuck, I forgot about that." What'd you say?
You're a nicer soul than I am.
Well, I mean, it's cool, right? I mean, we have.
You're lucky to be watching this.
Looking forward.
You should be happy to be in my presence. I should charge you a fee.
Oh man, I'd love to get these guys on the pod too.
Yeah, I think, man,
I think it'd be a lot of fun during the off season too. Like maybe we just get them in. It's like, what the fuck would you do?
Look, man,
we're all guessing here.
I ain't trying to talk no. I ain't talking no smack. But
yeah, you are. Here it comes.
There's a lot of Commanders content out there. There is. I think some of it's bad. And I'm looking at some of the numbers of some of the shit that gets this out there, and I'm like, fuck that.
Well, like, I see us. I've actually, looked at some of those other ones and compared us. Maybe I'm crazy. I think we're better. Good. Yeah.
I think we're better. And so, like, the thing is, there are a few that we haven't touched yet. I'm not going to deny that. But there are a few, and the only reason I'm not going into more detail is I ain't trying to put anybody out.
Yeah,
but
of course.
There's absolutely some guys that are out there that are speaking some good shit, that are diving in and doing it the right way. There are some other people that are just incendiary to be incendiary. There are other people that are just, I look at that and I'm like, yo, I don't think they put forth the time and the effort as much as what they do is they placate off these emotional-ass fans for this fucking fan base that can't wait to hop in the comment section and write something fucking crazy because they're feeling emotional as shit one day. But here's what I know. The way we do this show and the way that we continue to try to do this show, where you get new ownership, when things start quieting the fuck down, where you got to worry about just the product on the field and not bitching about everything else that's going on, this is when these type of shows kind of take off, because you need somebody to actually look through the X's and O's, the way the team is being run, the way you look through the way the psychology of the fucking players and the team is fucking running. This is the type of shit that takes off. The ones that don't need to be insulting the people, the ones that don't need to be clamoring for everybody to get fucking fired every fucking week. This is where it comes down to, where it separates the fucking cheap thrills for the real shit. That's all I'm saying.
Bravo. And let me say, between you, Mr. All 22, and me, self-proclaimed mental expert, given how everything went with Carson, I think we got it all covered. We got the film, we got the mentality, we got the mindset figured out. Maybe we should be scouts for this team. Ever
just
thought
saying,
about that?
I look, man, I'm just looking at the next stadium that we got.
Show up in these shades.
We should have fucking passes, and we'd be doing these shows after the game, sitting right there in the fucking press box and all kinds of shit, doing our thing. That's what I'm looking at. And I do want to get this out before we go. I think there's a good chance by the time we're podding next, Scott Turner's not here.
I think it's gonna take.
Did you read the article?
Well, yeah. So, but there is also speculation that it takes a week or two because Ron's doing his end of.
Ron's not meeting with Dan until next week. Right. We know that.
So I don't think.
But I don't think
we're gonna pod on Friday. Yeah, whose decision is it? So it's Ron. That comes. But there's also Marty. There's also Martin.
It's Ron's.
So are they just GM in name?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I remember we were doing that off-season series, and we went through their resumes and stuff like that.
It's Ron gave him the job.
Feels like Ron, doesn't it? Yeah.
The only person in the front office that wasn't a Ron guy is Jason Wright.
And I really like Jason Wright, and we've been critical at times also.
But Wright has no control.
But I do like Jason.
I like Jason too, but he has no decision on personnel.
In my opinion.
He's fine. He hasn't done anything to blow my fucking socks off, but he's
absolutely
fine.
not. Even the Commander's name, they said they were getting the input of people, and everyone seemed to hate it.
Like every time that
there are things
when I look into the details, and every time I think Jason Wright's doing the right thing, when I look into the details, I'm like, that felt sloppy. And I don't know if I'm blaming you, but you're the guy in charge of this, so you're kind of catching some of the shrapnel. I just wish you cleaned it up a little bit. And I understand things don't have to be perfect. Things are rarely ever perfect. But
I think the thing I appreciate about him is he will go to Twitter and be like, hey, my bad. I appreciate that. At least he's engaging with fans and stuff like that. I think from that perspective, we've needed it, and that's pretty cool.
Yes.
But yeah, I see what you're saying, and you are right, because we have also been critical at the same time.
That's the only thing I get. That's the only thing you hear me say anything as far as those guys go. The only thing that's so like, I do believe Scott Turner's not back. The only reason he would ever come back is because there's, even before watching the All-22, there's like 10 to 15% of legitimately great shit from Scott Turner in that Sam Howell game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even saying good. The best of Scott Turner was in that game that I haven't seen in weeks. There's like one or two plays that we do every week that I'm like, all right, that's cool. But it's like, if Ron gets it through his head that maybe if Scott could do that all the time, and that loyalty bug hits,
it's the Carson thing all over again, bud.
There
Except in this case, he's got the loyalty factor.
Now I got the Sam Howell variable,
and we have talked about Ron's weakness, one of them being loyalty.
His weakness as far as the head coaching, what makes him a great man. Mm-hmm. We'd always want somebody loyal in your corner, right?
Of course.
But it does not work as far as running an NFL franchise. You can't be loyal to the fault. And that's that's where I go. I don't think he should be our head coach anymore. We've hit our ceiling. We've talked about that hire at the time. Correct hire at the time. But now, go ahead. I don't know if the alternative is better. So, like, the thing that I keep looking at right now, who's the offensive coordinator if it's not Scott Turner? Do they elevate Ken Zampese, the quarterback coach?
I think that's one of two options. Somebody else on Twitter, I forgot who it was, had mentioned maybe Mike Shula.
Mike Shula, senior offensive assistant for the Buffalo Bills, right?
Right.
But
and
also,
he has experience with Ron.
Maybe, but you said you wanted somebody young.
Mike I do want someone young.
58.
I do want someone young. That doesn't change. I'm not saying it's right. And you know what? You bring a good point, because you're challenging me here on change for the sake of change.
Right.
Is it worth it?
Right.
And that is a good question, and it's something I will consider.
And the also part of it is, if we do think right now Ron Rivera is in a lame duck period, which I'm not ready to fully bring this, but I'm saying,
coming back from that article, just to your point on Scott Turner.
True, but here's the thing. Ron Rivera meets with Snyder next week, right? Yep. Probably on a Zoom call from his yacht. And Snyder says, hey,
here's the address, come through. We're both gone.
Snyder says, hey, I didn't like the way the season ended, but I wasn't there fucking anyway. And the team's getting sold. So, I mean, you have the rest of your contract until somebody else says something different. Godspeed and good luck, Ron. I hope everything works best for you. And Dan Snyder rides off into the sunset. And now Ron's left in charge of whatever it is that's in Washington. Now, if that's the case, right? Mm-hmm. And you look as far as next season, the only thing, and this is where it's going to get in our off-season series, was the only thing, the mantra to me is preventing Ron Rivera from doing anything that handicaps us in the future with the new ownership.
Question is, and this is where the offseason series is going to get interesting, is who is preventing him from doing that?
No one. But
that's the thing.
So it's Ron. Ron being a good guy.
Okay, because I could easily also see Dan going, fuck this team. It's getting sold for a high amount anyway. Trade all the picks. I don't care. Do whatever you want. I hate this team.
Let me ask you this.
Just the way it went.
Is it better or worse for Sam Howell to learn 3 different systems or 2 different systems in his first 3 years in the league?
2, obviously. If you're going between 3 and 2, yeah. No, it's a fair point. It is a fair point.
So my thing is like, all right, if you're going to run it back and you just say the money that you had from Carson Wentz is now gone, My thing, so you figure out the Deron Payne thing, you start building up these guys, and you're just like, hey,
it seems like almost all that money would just go straight to Payne if you're re-signing
what you're basically doing is going back to where it is that we were last year and saying, instead of spending the capital you did on, you're doing a do-over of this year without Carson Wentz.
That is correct. You are instead addressing other positions, and you have a QB with enough promise that you go, let's see what the kid can do without much expectation. If you're looking purely at draft round,
does everyone sign up for that?
I mean, I do, but like, yeah, do the players?
The thing that's crazy is how much we weren't signed up for that at the end of last season.
Well, because at the end of last season, if you looked at the metric again, the offensive line's playing really well. You look at the way that's what I'm saying. It's Heineke was beating Heineke was beating teams quarterbacked by decent QBs, and so like you go, oh, there's a high ceiling for this roster. Now we look at it and go, okay, maybe the roster isn't as good as we thought, and so therefore you don't swing for it. I'm of the belief you swing for it when you have a good enough roster. I was delusioned enough to think we had a good enough roster. I now see we don't.
Everybody just be prepared for the possibility that Kansas AMPs is your new offense coordinator.
Yes, do be prepared for that. Do be prepared for that.
your fucking quarterback come Super Bowl week.
It's entirely possible. It's entirely possible. Anyway, KDot, we got to wrap this up, bud. But we will see you guys next week on the ominous note that KDot just provided right there.
Wait, I'm going deep on Ron Rivera for a bit.
I'm looking forward to it. I've got some takes as well. I mean,
right.
I'm gonna get on the drawing board over here, and we're gonna come up with some.
Everybody, just look back at your tweets from the end of last season. I want everybody to remember what you thought.
See you guys next week.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.